She said, "You're too good for me. I want drama." Months later, she came back pregnant and begging. So I told her, "This is the drama you chose," and closed the door for good. There was this girl, let's call her Emily. We met through mutual friends, and over time we naturally grew close. We weren't dating, but our bond was undeniable. She often reached out to me whenever she was going through something: bad days at work, fights with her parents, or just those lonely evenings when she didn't want to be alone in her thoughts. And the way she talked to me, it left a mark. She would say things like, "You're my best part. No matter what happens, I'll never break you." Those words, I didn't just take them lightly. When someone looks you in the eye and promises something like that, it settles deep inside you. It makes you believe you found someone rare. At first, I saw her as a friend I could trust and confide in. But slowly, the lines started to blur. Maybe it was the late-night talks. Maybe it was the way she leaned on me during her toughest moments. Or maybe it was the way she made me feel like I was the person who mattered most in her world. I don't know exactly when, but somewhere along the way, I started to fall for her. It wasn't just a passing crush. It was that steady kind of love that sneaks up on you. The kind where you start picturing a future together without even realizing it. I kept it to myself for a while, because I didn't want to ruin what we had. But as months passed, the feelings only grew stronger. And then came Christmas. I've always seen Christmas as a time for warmth, for togetherness, for expressing what you hold in your heart. That year, I decided it would be the perfect moment to finally tell her. It wasn't just about confessing my feelings. I wanted her to know that I saw her as part of my future. I planned it out in my head 100 times. I imagined calling her, wishing her Merry Christmas, and then maybe meeting up later that day to talk. I pictured her smile, the way her eyes would light up when she realized how much she meant to me. Maybe I was naive, but I believed the timing was right, that the bond we shared was strong enough to grow into something more. On Christmas morning, I woke up with this mix of nervousness and excitement. I remember standing in my living room, holding my phone, rehearsing what I would say. It wasn't going to be some grand speech, just honest words from the heart. I dialed her number, and for a moment my chest tightened. She didn't pick up. I thought maybe she was with her family, busy unwrapping gifts or caught up in holiday cheer. I tried to brush it off. An hour later, I dialed again. This time, she answered. Her voice was quick, almost distracted. "Hey, I'm kind of busy. Merry Christmas," she said. Then she promised we'd meet the next day and ended the call just like that. I remember staring at my phone after the call ended, feeling this mix of confusion and disappointment. I had expected warmth, maybe even excitement. Instead, it felt like I was an afterthought. Still, I convinced myself it didn't matter, that tomorrow would be the real chance, the moment where everything would finally be said out loud. I didn't know then that tomorrow would change everything. The next afternoon, Emily came over just like she'd promised. I'd spent most of that morning pacing around my place, going over what I was going to say. It wasn't like I had a rehearsed speech, more like scattered thoughts I wanted to pull together. I kept telling myself, just be honest. Just tell her how you feel. She'll understand. When she walked in, she was her usual self, smiling, casual, carrying that energy that always seemed to brighten the room. We talked for a bit, small things about her Christmas Eve, about gifts and family. I tried to play along, but my heart was racing. I knew if I didn't speak up soon, I'd lose my nerve. Finally, I asked her to sit down because there was something I needed to tell her. She gave me this curious look, half teasing, half serious. I took a breath and said it plainly. "Emily, I love you." The words hung there for a moment. It felt like the kind of silence where the whole world slows down, waiting for her response. And then she laughed, not in a cruel, mocking way at first, more like she thought I was joking. But when she saw I wasn't laughing with her, her smile faded a little. She leaned back and shook her head. "You're too good for me," she said. "You don't get it. I like excitement, drama. That's just who I am. You couldn't give me that, not the kind of thrill I want in life." I sat there stunned, trying to process her words. She went on, explaining how I didn't understand women's feelings, how I was the kind of person who wanted stability and calm, while she wanted fire and unpredictability. She told me I'd always be her friend, someone she cherished deeply, but that romance between us would never happen. Hearing those words was like having the ground shift under my feet. For months, I had built up this idea that the closeness we shared meant something more. Every late-night call, every time she called me her best part, every promise she made about never breaking me, I thought all of that was a sign. To her, it was just friendship. I sat quietly, trying to keep my composure, but inside my chest felt heavy. "So that's it?" I asked softly. "You don't see me that way at all?" She shook her head firmly. "No, and I don't want to ruin what we have. You're important to me, but not like that. Please don't make it weird between us." Her words stung more than I wanted to admit. It wasn't just rejection, It was the finality in her tone, the way she dismissed the possibility as if it was never even on the table. I nodded slowly, trying to mask the disappointment, but it was clear she wanted to close the subject. For her, it was settled. For me, it was the moment everything I believed about us began to unravel. She reached for her phone on the table, tapping the screen like she was checking the time, and then glanced at me. "We'll be fine," she said lightly, almost as if she was reassuring herself. But I wasn't so sure anymore. That day, I realized something important. Words like, "You're my best part," and "I'll never break you," didn't carry the same meaning for her as they did for me. For her, they were casual comfort. For me, they were promises. And promises, when broken, cut deeper than rejection ever could. After her rejection, the room felt heavy. I tried to shift the conversation back to something light, but my thoughts kept circling the same point. Everything I believed about us wasn't real. She sat across from me, scrolling on her phone. Her tone softened as if she wanted to smooth over the moment, but I was too distracted by the ache of disappointment to engage. Then, suddenly, her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, frowned, and silenced it quickly. A few seconds later, it rang again. She seemed tense, tapping the decline button before setting the phone face down on the table. I didn't think much of it at first, but then it rang a third time. She sighed, picked it up, and, without realizing, answered on speaker. "Hey, babe, where are you?" A male voice said clearly. My chest tightened. She froze, eyes wide, then scrambled to turn off the speaker. I'll call you later," she muttered into the phone before hanging up. The silence that followed was unbearable. She avoided my eyes, fiddling nervously with the edge of her sleeve. "Who was that?" I asked, though I already knew. "Just a friend," she said quickly, too quickly. I shook my head. "Friends don't call you babe." Her face flushed. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, searching for words she couldn't find. Finally, she stood up, grabbed her bag, and said, "I'm busy. I need to go." And just like that, she walked out the door, leaving me sitting there with the pieces of what had just happened. That was the moment everything clicked. All the missed calls, the time she brushed me off with excuses, the way she laughed when I confessed. It wasn't just about not feeling the same. It was because she already had someone else. All those promises she made about never breaking me, about me being her best part, they were empty. Words to keep me around as a safety net while she chased excitement elsewhere. I sat there for a long time after she left, staring at the quiet room, the fading sound of her footsteps in my mind. I didn't feel angry, not yet. It was more like a slow, heavy realization pressing down on me. The person I thought valued me most had been lying to me all along. That evening, I made my decision. I wasn't going to chase after her. I wasn't going to beg for an explanation, or try to compete with whoever that guy on the phone was. I didn't deserve to be treated as second choice, and I wasn't going to let her string me along anymore. I deleted her number from my favorites, muted her on social media, and told myself this was the end. For years, I'd believed she meant it when she said she'd never break me. But in reality, she had broken me the moment she used those words without meaning them. From that day forward, I promised myself one thing. I would never let her treat me as her backup plan again. The days after Emily left were strangely quiet. I didn't block her, but I didn't reach out either. Part of me expected she might text or call, maybe try to explain what had happened with that phone call. But the silence stretched on. A week passed, then two, and eventually, I realized she wasn't going to. So I adapted. I threw myself into my own life, friends, hobbies, anything that didn't remind me of her. The late-night conversations we used to have became empty hours, and though I felt her absence, I also felt a strange kind of relief. No more mixed signals, no more wondering if I was reading too much into her words. 2 months went by like that. No contact, no updates. She disappeared from my life as if she had never been there at all. And then the news came. A mutual friend mentioned it to me one evening, almost offhand. "Hey, did you hear about Emily?" he asked. I shook my head, and he hesitated before saying, "She's pregnant." I remember sitting there, stunned, the words echoing in my mind. Pregnant? With that guy? The one who had called her babe, right in front of me. I didn't know how to feel. A part of me thought, well, she made her choice. Another part of me, though, felt a flicker of sadness. Not because I still wanted her, but because of what it said about the path she had taken. A week later, more details trickled in. The guy, her so-called exciting boyfriend, didn't want the baby. He had pushed her to get rid of it, saying he wasn't ready to be a father. When she refused, he left her. Just like that. The same woman who once told me I was too good and not exciting enough was now abandoned, carrying the weight of someone else's choices. It wasn't long before my phone lit up again. At first, it was just one missed call from her. Then another. Then another. She didn't leave voicemails, but the pattern was clear. She was reaching out, over and over, hoping I'd pick up. But I didn't. I stared at her name on the screen each time and felt nothing but resolve. This was the same person who laughed when I confessed, who told me I wasn't enough, who dismissed everything I had offered as boring. Now, suddenly, I was supposed to be the one she turned to? No, not anymore. Ignoring those calls wasn't easy. A part of me wanted to hear her out, if only for closure. But I knew myself too well. If I let her voice back into my life, I'd risk slipping into old patterns, believing promises she couldn't keep. So I stayed silent. The irony wasn't lost on me. For months, I had been the one waiting by the phone, hoping she would call. Now the roles were reversed. She was the one reaching out, and I was the one choosing silence. And I'll admit, there was a grim kind of justice in that. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of it. Someone like Emily didn't give up easily. If she was desperate enough to start calling again, it was only a matter of time before she showed up in person. And that day came sooner than I expected. It was a cold evening when I heard the knock at my door. At first, I thought it was a delivery. But when I opened it, there she was, Emily. Her face was pale, eyes red and swollen, hair messy like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't even try to play it cool this time. The moment our eyes met, she broke down crying. "Please, can I come in?" she whispered. I stepped aside, more out of reflex than choice. She walked in slowly, clutching her bag against her chest, as if it was the only thing holding her together. We sat down, and for a few minutes, she couldn't even get the words out. Just tears and apologies spilling out between shaky breaths. Finally, she managed to speak. "He left me," she said. "He told me to get rid of the baby. When I said no, he just disappeared. He won't answer my calls, won't see me. I have no one." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing. I sat there quietly, letting her speak, but I felt no urge to comfort her this time. Not like before. The empathy I once had for her had been replaced by something colder, clarity. "Do you remember what you told me that day?" I asked. She looked up at me, confused. "That I was too good for you. That you wanted drama, excitement, things I couldn't give you." "Well, Emily, this is it. This is the drama you wanted." Her expression shifted, pain mixed with realization. She opened her mouth as if to argue, but no words came. She knew I was right. "I'm not here to watch you cry over choices you made," I continued. "You rejected me, not just once, but in the cruelest way. And now you want me to clean up the mess someone else left behind? No, that's not my role anymore." She shook her head desperately. "No, that's not what I mean. I didn't know what I was saying back then. I was stupid, I was selfish. You were always the one who cared about me. I see it now. Please, I need you." Her words might have worked months ago. They might have melted my resolve, made me believe she had finally realized my worth. But hearing them now, after everything, only made me feel how empty they were. "I don't love you anymore, Emily," I said flatly. "You burned that bridge the moment you laughed in my face and chose someone else. You don't get to come back just because he left you." She covered her mouth, a fresh wave of tears spilling over. "So that's it. You're just going to turn me away? You really don't care." I sighed and stood up. "Go back to your parents. They'll help you. I'm not the answer anymore. I can't be." For the first time since I'd known her, she looked small, fragile, not the confident, teasing girl I remembered, but someone who had run out of places to turn. She begged again, softly this time, like she knew the door was already closing. "Please don't do this. I can't do this alone." But I stayed firm. My heart no longer bent for her. The part of me that once waited for her calls, once believed her promises, it was gone. And for the first time in years, I felt in control of my life again. Emily stood in my living room, tears streaking down her face. For a moment, I thought she might finally leave. But instead, she took a step closer, her voice breaking. "I was wrong," she whispered. "Everything I said before, about you being too good, about wanting drama, it was all a mistake. I see it now. I don't need any of that. I need you." I shook my head slowly. "No, Emily, you don't need me. You just don't want to be alone." Her lips trembled. "That's not true. I love you. I've always loved you. I just didn't realize it until now. Please believe me. Please, just give me one more chance." Her words cut through the air, heavy with desperation. Months ago, hearing her say "I love you" would have been everything I ever wanted. But standing there in that moment, all I felt was disbelief. "Emily," I said quietly, "love isn't something you stumble back to when everything else falls apart. Love isn't what you settle for when the person you chose walks away. What you're asking for, it isn't love. It's survival. And I can't be your safety net anymore." She pressed her hands together, almost like she was praying. "I swear it's real this time. I don't care about drama anymore. I don't care about anyone else. I just want you." I looked at her, really looked at her, and all I could see was the memory of that day. The way she laughed when I confessed, the way she told me I wasn't enough, The way she silenced her phone when another man called her babe. Those moments weren't accidents. They revealed who she really was then. And the truth is, I couldn't erase them. No, I said firmly. It's too late. She froze, as if those 3 words hit harder than anything else I'd said. Too late, she repeated softly. Yes, you had me when it mattered. You had me when I would have done anything for you. And you chose someone else. You broke the trust one had. And without trust, there's nothing left to build on. The room was silent except for her quiet sobs. Finally, I walked to the door and opened it. Go home, Emily. Go back to your family. That's where you'll find the support you need. She hesitated, tears streaming down her cheeks. You'll really just close the door on me? I nodded. I have to. For me. And then I did exactly that. I closed the door. I stood there for a long time afterward, staring at the wood, listening to the muffled sound of her crying fade down the hall. My chest was heavy, but not with regret. It was with finality. For years, I thought she was my future. For months, I believed she was my best part. But in the end, she was only a lesson. A hard one, but one I needed. That night, for the first time in a long while, I felt free. Free from false promises. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.